We're back on Global TV Talk Show. I'm Ed Cohen and your host. I'm based in San Diego, California, a little after 8 a.m. here in Seaport Village, downtown 92101. Our special guest today is in Costa Rica. That's pretty cool. Jonathan England is an author and a thinker and a trainer about how to choose to have a better life. So we're going to welcome Jonathan England. Hello.
Hey there.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So you have an interesting story. I'm going to ask you to get into that rather than me stumble through all this. So the book title is If I Die Before I Wake. It's pretty provocative. There's a 5-step roadmap. I'm reading this. The 5-step roadmap to enlightenment, prosperity, and your life's purpose. Jonathan England's Earth Waking, Costa Rican Self-Sustainable Village is the culmination of his consciousness leadership and practical wisdom for those who seek more out of life. Continuing here briefly. Jonathan is on a mission to create a world of abundance for all by taking 100% responsibility for your own thoughts, feelings, actions, and reality while working in harmony with nature and each other. Now that's a mouthful. How did you come to writing this book? And before you get into that, are you in the mountains or along the beach?
I'm 10 minutes from the beach. I'm in the mountains.
Okay. On the Gulf side or the Pacific side?
Pacific.
Yeah, so it's drier rather than wet.
Yeah, it's well, half the year it rains every day. The other half of the year it's sunny every day. But I'm in the rainforest, so.
Yeah, how high up?
I'm about, I think 600 meters right here.
So 1,800 feet. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I see your T-shirt says no Army. Does that mean you're Navy?
It's Costa Rica. They haven't had an army here since 1948.
Well, that's a good thing.
They decided to get rid of the army, all the money they were spending on it, and just inject it into the nature, into restoring and revitalizing Mother Earth and bringing it all back to life.
So I've never been to Costa Rica, but I have done one other show with a woman who's originally from Seattle, but she's living in Costa Rica now. I don't know exactly where. I think it's higher up than you, and more central, I think. Anyway, she's a really good speaker, and so we did one show. So you had an epiphany in life. I was reading from your you ran into a wall and then decided to remake your life. Is that right?
Yeah, well, there's a series of epiphanies, but yeah, the first one was the book, If I Die Before I Wake, it talks about these 5 levels of consciousness, or 5 states of conscious orientation, 5 ways to perceive reality from. And so it is the journey that I went through. So the book, there's 3 parts to the path, the proof, and the process. The path is the roadmap. The proof is my journey through it. And the process are the tools, like the cheat codes to transcend each level. So the first epiphany, I guess, I was a broke, ignorant, blackout, drunk, atheist beach bum. That was my life for, my young adulthood, was for 15, 20 years. And then I rear-ended a car at a stoplight when I was blackout drunk one night, and sitting in jails when I had my first epiphany. That's when I went from level 1 to level 2. Level 1 being disoriented. You're just a victim of reality. You're playing, I'm doing the best I can, but I got dealt a crappy hand of cards. So, poor me, but I do the best I can. Level 2, it's called goal oriented, where you say, okay, I'm going to set some goals. I'm going to make a decision. I'm the creator of my experience. So I'm going to make a new experience for myself. And so that actually how I entered into level 2 was sitting in jail, sobering up and realizing what actually the epiphany that happened was when I was sitting there. See, I was blackout drunk every night because I was running away from my emotions. I was trying to numb myself. The only time I got any sort of reprieve from my own mind, it was like hamster wheeling, was if I was blackout drunk. So it created a sense of peace, even though it wasn't true peace. That's the closest I could get to it. But when I was sitting in jail, I could no longer run. I could no longer hide. It was just me and me, and I had to face my stuff. But I started thinking like, John, you're an idiot. You could have killed somebody. And then this thought hit me, and it says, wait a minute, you could have killed somebody, John. I'm like, yeah, I know, I could have killed somebody. And I'm like having a conversation with myself, and then it says, but that's actually a good thing that you could have killed somebody. I'm like, well, how's that a good thing? Well, because if one of your decisions could hurt somebody, then one of your other decisions could do what? Help somebody. So if your decisions could hurt somebody or help somebody, that means your decisions matter. And if your decisions matter, that means you matter. And the reason that I was a blackout drunk atheist beach bum is because I didn't think that I mattered. Once you get that you do matter, then all of a sudden, all of your actions, you see that there's a consequence to them. But if you don't think that you matter, that doesn't seem like there is any sort of consequence. So I decided that moment that from this moment forward, never again will my actions hurt someone, and they will only ever help people. And that was the beginning of my journey.
So was all this self-created, or did you have someone who was either whipping you into shape or feeling loving enough to help you get there?
The journey through was, it was on my own, except for when I made that first decision to become to only help people. Well, I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? Because I was, again, just this punk kid, very naive, very ignorant. I didn't know anything about anything, but I made a decision. I'm like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a family. I'm going to have a family, and we're going to have a nice house, and I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to give them the life that they always dreamed of. And then that's what's going to give purpose to my life. And so I made that decision, and I'm an all-in guy. When I was blackout drunk, the reason I was blackout drunk, because I'm all in. I don't half it, all it, So when I went all in, I'm going to be successful so I can provide for a family. I chose real estate investing. And how I found the way was I found a mentor, it was just a dude on TV, a little Italian guy on TV. His name was Dean Graziosi. I was flipping through channels and found him, and he was selling me this no money, no credit real estate investing thing. And I'm like, well, I qualify for your course because I don't have any money or credit, but it was $10,000. So I came up with the money. And then from that moment, it was like, it took me 6 months to do my first deal, but once I did my first deal, I was unleashed, and I made 17 grand off my first one, 70 off my second one, and then like 30 grand, 25 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand. And it was just like, within 18 months, I'd made 400 grand. Within 2 years, I'd built a multi-million-dollar empire. But what I learned from that is I got a recipe. The reason it worked so well, two things. One, I bought a recipe, and two, I followed it. I stopped trying to think for myself, and I started using other tools. And I stopped asking people who didn't have what I wanted how to get it. I asked somebody who did have what I wanted how to get it, and I listened. I was very coachable, but I learned that it was through this personal development is what grew me, and I got results in my life. So then I got addicted to personal development. I went all in, and within a couple of years, because now I had money and I knew how I'd gotten it. And so I invested like over 300 grand in personal development, taking everything that I could. But now it's well over $500,000 I've invested into personal development. So I was on the journey alone, but I was finding mentors and paying them to teach me.
So let me ask you a couple of questions, and you could redirect me if you don't want to deal with it. And you're talking to my audience through me, of course. Okay. So the questions that I have is, where did you find this capability to participate in a rising real estate market? Was that California?
I was in Florida, and because I started when the whole collapse had just happened. It was like
in what, 08?
Yeah. So it was like, it had stabilized, but it was stabilized at the bottom. But when I said because again, I was a naive kid, I didn't know what I was doing, and I'd never even thought about real estate. And then all of a sudden I buy this course, and then I tell all my friends and everybody, I'm going to do real estate. And they're like, no, don't do that, because everybody's all scared of real estate. But I'm like, luckily I was naive enough to not know that I was supposed to be running the other direction. So I was running right towards it at the perfect time when everybody else was still scared. And I went in, gung ho, and that's why it worked so well, because I was ignorant, because I was naive, and I didn't have any fear. I just went in trusting the tools that I'd paid for. And so yeah, it grew. And then I wound up building the largest real estate investment club in Panama City, Florida as well.
Oh, that's cool. So did you hang on to the properties or some of them, or did you just keep flipping?
Majority was flipping, but yes, I did start to grow a portfolio of rentals, and then I also did some owner financing and things like that, and I sold things on lease purchase agreements, and so yeah, I'd built like a whole empire. But at this point, well, not now, but after a while in my journey through those 5 levels, there's a point when I'm going through, because level 2 was when I built the real estate, when I became successful. I made all the money that I could ever want. But then as I evolved through the levels, it's at one point I just gave it all away. I literally gave away, I mean, millions of dollars worth of stuff. Literally gave away. At that time, the house was like $350,000. I just gave it away. I mean, I gave away multiple houses, but that house now is like $750,000 house, and I gave everything away on this journey to where I stand now. So
how many houses do you have right now?
well, now I actually have a village. I built a village. So full circle, now I'm real estate again. It's different, coming from a different place and a different reality of how it's happening, because it's just happening through me. But now I have two properties. This first one, I think, let's see, there's about 25 homes here on this property. There's an 8-plex right here that's being built right now, and then I got a couple more that are about to be done, and then this whole place is complete. I also bought another 50-acre property that we'll probably have a couple hundred homes on it. So it's full circle. Here I am, real estate again, developing real estate, but now I'm developing villages, regenerative villages, where we're severing our dependency upon that sick system out there, so that we have our own food, our own water, our own shelter, our own energy, our own community and purpose. We got our own currency. So we're a complete sovereign society where we don't have to bow down to these people out there that are all dysfunctional, and we're sovereign. So
Electricity.
Yeah, so we're all good. We've got, so the whole thing is also on solar power here, and it's wild. I like you. I mean, I've been an abundant minded guy, but once we got like all this stuff was completely on like solar panels, it's like it even shocked my abundant system, because we got like this. There's a home right here in front of me. It's got 3 floors to it, and it's just got solar panels on top, but there's an air conditioner in each floor. And I'm like, somehow the heat from the sun is turning into cold air conditioners, and like the whole thing is completely running, and it's pretty wild. So yeah, we're good to go. We don't have to worry about, we're not, if the whole grid shuts down, we're good.
So your awakening and your application of that new learning, was that drug induced? Or it was just like you found a pathway to understanding nature and God?
Yeah, it was not drug induced. It was failure induced, I guess. I mean, because it could be experienced with the drug when you hit the walls really, really, because I run full speed. So when I hit a wall, I hit it full speed, and it hurts, but it shocks me out of my habitual pattern. So I kept growing and expanding as I went along. But again, I did $500,000 worth of personal development. But in this journey of each experience, because you get a tool in each of the levels. Like level 1, you gotta learn to let go. Well, there's a mistake that people make, which is caring what other people think. If you care what other people think, you'll be stuck in level 1 forever. Level 2, the mistake is lack of clarity and focus. But once you've nailed down the clarity of focus, then clarity, when you know where you're going and you focus on it fully, then your laser beam it, then things can happen really fast. And so level 3, the mistake is attachment to outcome. In level 2, you're really attached to an outcome. You're like, no matter what, it's like, not thy will, but mine be done. This is going to happen no matter what. Nobody's going to stop me. In level 3, it's the opposite. You got to release your attachment to the outcome and enjoy the journey. But then in level 4, the mistake is giving to get, because it's called value oriented, where now, because in level 3, you find everything you've ever been searching for. You realize that it was an inside job. You had it the entire time. You just couldn't see it because you had these conditions upon reality, because we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are, but we don't know how disconnected we are from ourselves until you get to level 3, and then you just like, it's all, you merge with it all.
So I need to ask you a question, because I'm getting what you're saying, and I'm not where you are yet, but I'm in a pathway, and I wasn't this clear, internally clear, 6 months ago. But some things have developed and happened that it was like, whoa, like an awakening, like, boy, I can do this. And now I'm going to, and I'm into that special place right now. I'm at like a peak, and I know it. And so, you know, like I wake up at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., you know, not every day, but frequently. And I guess I just got this idea, man, I got to sit here and type it in and make it reality. Because if you don't type it in, it's just still there, you know, rather than here. And then I could see it. And then something else clicks in, and I say, well, okay, now I want to do this. And it's following the same pattern of what, awareness or something, being in touch with some electrical current. I don't know why it wasn't there before, but so I get what you're saying. It was there. I just didn't know what to do, you know, or
you numbed it out, because we entertain ourselves to death. This whole because we're creators, conditioned and programmed to consume. And when because you flip that switch from creator to consumer, and you can't hear inside anymore. You're only listening to the outside and reacting to the outside, rather than realizing that it's coming from the in. Like, what you really need to do is coming from the inside, not looking in your mirror and say, what should I do today? No, you don't listen to outside, you listen on the inside. But if you've been on this hamster wheel for so long, you don't even, you got so disconnected from your heart, you couldn't hear it. But now, what was really great, this whole pandemic, the COVID thing, the shutdown, lockdown, everything, is it stopped everybody on their hamster wheels. Because what happens to the individual happens to the collective. As above, so below, and as below, so above. So individually, we're all going through these 5 levels of consciousness, but also we're going through it collectively. And humanity has been in level 2, where we have to get to level 3 or we'll destroy ourselves. Because the same thing for an individual. If you stay in level 2 very long, you'll destroy yourself. That's like perfect example, like Whitney Houston, Robin Williams, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley. These were the biggest winners of level 2. They succeeded. They did everything they got as successful as you could possibly be, yet they all killed themselves. So
because they, well, either they got trapped in something, okay, who knows what, but you know, they got trapped inside something and they couldn't find their way out, and then they just pulled the own plug. Yeah, that's what I see.
Okay. That's what level 2 is, because you're programmed into this blueprint. Here's what's going to make you happy. If you just do these things, then you're going to be happy. The outside world told you that. So they went building this. It's a blueprint for your happiness. So they went and built the blueprint, except for they didn't realize it was a blueprint for their own prison. And now they're sitting inside the prison, and it's empty. It's hollow. They thought if they can just get the whole world to love them, then they would finally feel loved. But they went as far as you can go, and it was a dead end. So then they lost hope.
So they didn't transform beyond into something else. Or basically they stopped that pursuit. Something that they were doing made them stop or inhibited their further what, development or
They
growth?
didn't know there was another level. They didn't know that because they had won that level, but that was a problem, like, because they kept well, there's no further I can go, but they didn't know there was another level that had completely different rules, which it's not about goals, it's not about success, it's about enjoying the journey, being present. Because in level 1 you live in the past, which creates depression. Level 2 you live in the future, which creates anxiety. Level 3 you make it to this present moment, where it's like you make it, you just realize that you've been here the whole time, and you stop trying to get somewhere. But the reason people are trying to get somewhere, they think they can learn and earn their way into heaven. They can learn and earn their way into love, because they think they're human doings, not human beings. And they think they're loved for what they do, not for who they are. So the people that are becoming more and more successful, it's because they're trying to earn their worthiness. They're doing things for worthiness rather than from it. They don't realize that they're whole, complete, perfect, eternal beings already. So they're leaving what's real in the pursuit of what appears to be, chasing something out there that they're never going to find, because it's not out there, it's in here. And but that's what we were programmed to do, because that's how we were trained to be consumers. There's like this carrot dangled in front of us while we sit there on our hamster wheel, keep running and running, because this consumeristic system, it's built on debt. It doesn't have any life, so it has to suck the life out of us, because we do have life. So it's got to hang something in front of you and get you to chase it in order to energize itself. And that's what the whole programming was all about. So humanity's got to let that go now.
So this show is not about politics, but of course it's part of life. But so let's think about the pandemic, okay? And in this country, in the US, so they decided to not do a lockdown, but they had to stop people from mixing, because in the air was this poison that could kill certain people or whatever. So somehow they invented, Pfizer and whoever invented the vax, and I'm fully vaxxed, and it probably saved my life. I don't know, but they decided to pay people because somebody, I don't know who it was, Trump, or maybe it was Biden, or maybe it was both of them, but they decided that the way to do this is to go into debt big time, and pay people money and tell them that they shouldn't get together, but don't do what China has done. And in a police state approach, they just let people go out and work from home or get paid anyway for not working, and so that they took away that fright and bewilderment, but don't do this, don't do that. But they went on vacation or they went to Costa Rica, or they went to Miami, or they went to Aruba, just to get away, because they had this extra money. All right. And the government looking the other way. Of course, now the higher interest rates and all this stuff is just exacerbating all of that. But if the government didn't do that giveaway program, and if the vaccines didn't work, that would be sort of like the French Revolution, where they went after all the people who were flagrant in their spending and lifestyle, and they killed them all, right? Chopped off their heads, and then the French Revolution took over, and somehow it worked somehow. So again, I'm not being political. I'm just trying to see the analogy to what you're doing right now in your village and in your self-sustainability, to a certain extent, and how that can be communicated to our audience, which is not entirely on the same wavelength.
Okay, I'm not sure that I understand the question. So the question
Yeah, I'm
is,
sorry, I'm getting a little lost in my
because I said that the lockdown and everything was what's helping us to move into level 3. Is that why you're?
Yeah, and so the transition in U.S. society, particularly here in California, is that people took the money, they started other businesses, sort of like what I did here on TV, Zoom, and then they built a new pathway for myself, and then that's opened doors, and I'm letting it come to me. And I'm seeing similarities to what you've done, what you've mushroomed into with your super development plan, which I think is great. I
Yeah,
applaud what you've done.
yeah, because it took everybody off the hamster wheel, but from human
Yeah,
doing,
yeah, that's an easier way to talk about it than what
yeah,
I've tried to do.
we went from human doings to human beings. We had to be again, and but it because humans were creatures of habit. We have what 60,000 thoughts a day. 95% of them were the same as ones we had yesterday. So we get into these habits. Some people live 90 years. Some people live 1 year 90 times. So you start living the same year over and over and over
Mm,
because it's your comfort zone. But your comfort is your cage. I always say
mm.
faith untested can't be trusted. If you know how to do it, it doesn't take faith. If it doesn't take faith, it's not big enough because you're growing or dying. So you have to be doing something bigger than what you know how to do, or else you're stagnant. And if you're stagnant, you're dying. So there's no life in that. And so
And that's what happens. They give up, like all those big stars you mentioned.
yeah, well,
They
so they made it.
just lost themselves, and whether it was drink or drugs or they just decapitated themselves.
Yeah, well, because they had already lost themselves in the world. They became who the world wanted them to be, thinking that then they would finally, the void would be filled, but you can't fill it from the outside in. And so that's the point. Like they gotta, you gotta get stopped and dead in your tracks. Like how I got to level 3 was like I got stopped dead in my tracks. I just couldn't, like, no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I did, it was never enough. Like specifically, I was trying to make my family happy. And I don't know if you ever been down that road of trying to make somebody happy who's committed to not being happy. Like, it doesn't work. Just let you know, if anybody wants to go down that path of trying to make somebody happy that's committed to never being happy, it's not going to work. So
Right, right. It
there is
just you got to walk away.
there
Yeah.
is no end to that road. So but that's the same for, like, everybody is trying to figure out how to become happy. So you've got to just stop. And so I was trying to make my family, I thought I could be happy if I could make my family happy. But no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, I gave them everything. Nobody had to work. We're on vacations all the time. And the more I did, the harder I tried. No matter what I did, it was never enough. In fact, it kept getting worse. They got more miserable. I'm like, and it got to the point where my mom's on hospice. She's about to die in a couple weeks. And by the way, my mom is now not just surviving, she's thriving. She lives here in Costa Rica with me. This is 8 years later, only because these things that I learned when I brought her to level 3 and above. Once she got to above level 3, then, well, she was actually in level 1 is why she was dying. I brought her through level 2 and level 3, and now she's set free, full on life. I call her Benjamin Button. She ages in reverse. But the point being, your world that you keep you're spending all of your energy just holding up the world that you think that you're supposed to be creating so you can consume it, so it'll make you happy, but it's never going to work. So that thing has to be stopped. It has to be shut down in order for you to just pause for a moment and just realize, oh crap, I'm on the wrong road. I'm on the wrong path. I've been on this path for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's not getting any better. The void is still there. In fact, it's even bigger. So this can't be the path. There's got to be something different. But people don't take that pause for long enough to find what's different. And that's what was good about the whole pandemic, the whole lockdown and everything, was so people would have to find a new way, and they could come back to life. Because they were already dead. They were dead and didn't know it. They were on autopilot. They were zombies. They were in a trance, and they was trying to transcend in the trance. And that's what it took to do it. So shutting down their world.
So, I don't know whether you watch Prime or, that show Walking Dead, all these zombies walking around. I'm just jumping into your thoughts here. So let me ask you a question as we come to a close here in a couple of minutes. And I invite you to come back on another show next month or whenever you have time, because I'm enjoying this, and I think my audience will be able to grasp what you're doing. So how do you help yourself now? It seems like you're you found a pathway. Now, how do you keep that evolving so that you don't hit a wall again?
So my life is set up to where it's like, it's just, I created my environment so that I can't die. Like I like, not physically, I can physically die, but I can't get into the pattern of where I'm just doing the same thing over and over. But specifically, so we go through this journey of dependent when we're a little child, and then we go to codependent. Some people never leave dependent or codependent, but then you go to independent. But then the final stage is interdependence. And so now I've moved through that journey. I became very independent, and now I'm interdependent, which is I'm part of a bigger picture. And so that picture depends upon me. If I stop doing my part by playing my part, then other people suffer, because we'll do more for other people than we'll do for ourselves. So if you can put your life on the line for more than just you, then it'll keep you moving forward, so you don't just get stagnant. And so here, like this village is, we've got, I think, like 17 people living here now. And it's like, it's all interdependent upon each one of us. And we also know that what we're doing here is a piece of the puzzle for the entire picture of humanity, because these villages, this is where the world's going. This is where humanity's going. You're either going into the 15-minute cities, the free, or if you're a Democrat, it's a 15-minute city. If you're a Republican, it's a freedom city. But they're the same thing, but it's a prison planet. But the people don't know it. So you're either going into that, or you're going into this. So it's either by chance or by choice if you choose it. So this is like a lion in a cage in those 15-minute cities. But if you're a lion who's free, then you're going to step into your sovereignty. And that's what these villages are. So for the people that are waking up, they're going to be in villages that they're taking full responsibility for their reality. If the people are going to sleep, they're taking zero responsibility for their reality. And they're just going to be getting their little universal basic income, their CBDC, and they're in their little 15-minute cities. They're not going to own anything. They're just going to rent everything, you know. So you got to make the choice. Which path are you on? Are you a slave or are you sovereign? And you've got to make that decision. And if you choose not to decide, you've made a choice to go down the slave path. And the choice is 100% responsibility, and then actions that back that up.
I think that is really cool. So are you going to make a TV show out of all this?
No, it's funny because we do. So there's this thing that we do here. There's two things that make our community a lot different than the rest of the world. One, radical transparency. There's nothing hidden here. Like you can't hide anything here. But it's by choice. And then the second thing is we put the fun in dysfunction. Meaning, because all of humans are dysfunctional, but it's not a problem that we're dysfunctional. It's a problem that we think it's a problem that we're dysfunctional. But if you'll realize that every adversity carries with a seed of an equal or greater opportunity, then the dysfunction, the problem, becomes an opportunity. So we do this thing where, again, by chance or by choice, we choose to go in to face the dysfunction by choice. And we got this little game we call it dysfunction. And you put your dysfunction, you throw it in the litter, we call it the litter box, because the shit goes in there. And we eat breakfast every morning together, and either your shit goes in there or you throw somebody else's shit in there. And when it goes in as their stuff. When it comes out, it's our stuff, and we do the work on it. But it's very entertaining, because if it's your shit, people, you get triggered, like, because now you're standing there without your fig leaf on. You're like, oh, this is my shame, my guilt I was hiding from, and now here it is to the surface. And it's very entertaining to, like, it's not entertaining to be on the hot seat, but everybody else is watching. Like, it's really entertaining to everybody outside. So we're talking about creating a reality show called The Real World, because we're real. Nobody's, it's raw, real emotions and experience of what you're really going through, instead of hiding behind this mask, trying to be something, trying to put on a fake smile. Nope, I ain't feeling good today, and here it is. And then we go through that journey and set the people free. So it would be a really, really great show. So we've talked about it many times.
So here it is. I'm reading it, earthwakingvillage.com.
Yeah, earthwakingvillage.com.
I'm going to go and have a look.
Yeah, go check it out. So Actually, go to jonathanearthwaking.com, and there's going to be 3 things there. There's you can download my book for free there, or you can we've got an event, a live there's an online live event where you can go check it out on Zoom. It used to only be live in person, but once the lockdown shut the world down, then we took it on Zoom, and then went to the whole world overnight. So again, the adversity created an opportunity.
Exactly what I've learned. It's become an enabler.
Yeah, it actually helped. And then the third part on that website, then the third thing, so it's the book, the event, or you can come visit the village. So there's a link for all 3 of them on jonathanearthwaking.com. So
Thank you, Jonathan England, for being my guest today on
Yeah.
Global TV Talk Show. I find this fascinating. I'm going to go take a look at your stuff, and I invite you, the audience out there, to have a look. And one day I'm going to come to Costa Rica, and I'm going to knock on your door, but I don't know when that will be.
come on down whenever you're ready. Just on that website, it'll have the link where if you want to come down, there's a little visitor application. Or we got an event coming up live here at the village next month, May. I don't know when somebody's watching this, but it's in May 26th through 29th. But it's called the Remember Experience. That'd be a highly recommend anybody come check that thing out. If you want to come to the village, that'd be a perfect time to come experience the whole thing during one of our main events.
Great. Thank you. Peace.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.